Beautiful. So you're resting here in your supported back bend. You've got some support behind your shoulder blades, maybe behind the length of your spine. You've got a sense of releasing your arms down towards the floor on either side of you. You've got a sense of maybe releasing the back of your head towards the floor or towards the support you may have behind your head. And we can start to pay attention to little movements and even stretching sensations in your chest as you breathe. So when we're in this position, it's relatively easy to feel your belly move. You might even feel your ribs move, but maybe you can start to feel a little opening under your collarbones. Maybe you can feel that posterior tipping of your shoulder blades, so the tips of your shoulder blades moving in towards your back, and a little more external rotation in your upper arms. And maybe you can start to feel some space opening between your upper ribs. So we'll be here in this supported back bend for a few more moments. And if it feels good to you, you can start to slow your breath down and maybe even feel your breath moving in the space behind your breastbone. So like you're inhaling to that space. And when you exhale, you're circulating breath from that space. As you inhale, the energy, the prana, the vitality moves in towards your heart center. And as you exhale, it circulates through your body. You can continue to sense this movement of energy and breath. These are 2 of 5 forms of vitality, of life force, that are talked about in yoga philosophy. These forms of prana are called vayus, which means winds, the winds of vitality. And the 2 we're playing with here are samana vayu, which is drawing into the center, consolidating, kind of bringing your energy in, and vyana vayu, which is circulating, moving, and distributing this throughout your body. Samana vayu on the inhalation, vyana vayu circulating on the exhalation. We'll take 1 or 2 more breaths in our supported back bend. And somewhere in your next breath or 2, when it feels like time to move, you can tuck your arms in beside you, tuck your chin towards your chest, help yourself off your support. And now let's slide that support under your sacrum. So coming into your supported bridge now. You can lift your hips, slide this down, and you can place it right in the middle of your sacrum so you can have a relatively neutral curve in your spine. You can have a little release in your hips. It might feel good to be here with bent knees. If at any point you'd like to go a little deeper into the back bend, into the spinal and hip extension, you can walk your legs out straight, and let's breathe here. Now maybe the sensation is lower in your belly. So you can start to feel this sense of expansion and stretch in your abdomen and in your hips, and maybe even in your low back. And we'll spend a few moments here, breathing deeply into your belly. Perhaps still feeling this sense of consolidating energy, drawing it in on the inhalation and distributing it with the exhalation. Finally, you'll walk your feet back in if your legs are extended. Take a moment here. When it feels like time, you can root down into your feet, lift your hips, slide your prop out from underneath you. Let's just float our hips down towards the floor. And then hug your knees into your chest. And we'll start with Apanasana, hands on your knees. Draw your knees in with the exhalation. Maybe your hips even lift off the floor. As you inhale, you can rock your knees away. And after a few rounds like that, you'll let your arms come out to the side. And you can use the strength of your core to rock your knees in and out. And then start to draw circles with your knees. So now we're rolling around on the outer edge of our sacrum. And you're using the strength of your core to control this movement. Navel is hugging back towards your spine, circling your knees around, getting a little low back massage, and also waking up your abdominal muscles. You can circle around one way and then circle around the other. And eventually you can let your knees drop over to the right side of your mat. Let your left arm come with. So you'll close your arms like you're closing a book. Both arms reach out in front of you. Left arm is on top. And let's circle the left arm. So as you inhale, you'll trail your fingertips across the floor. Upper arm comes up next to your ear. And at the end of your inhalation, you're reaching your arms out at 180 degrees. Your right arm is out in front of you. Your left arm is on the floor behind you. When you exhale, you'll draw the bottom half of the circle, bringing your arm back down past your hip and back to meet your right. So inhaling to the top half of a circle, exhaling to the bottom half of the circle. We'll make one more big circle with left arm. Inhaling to the top half of the circle, exhaling to the bottom half of the circle. And when you inhale next, open your arms like a book. You can let your left arm drop over to the left, pick up your knees, roll over to your left, close the book. Right arm is on top now. Both arms out in front, and we'll circle the right arm. Inhaling, arm up past your ear and back behind you. Exhale to draw the bottom half of the circle. Inhale, arm up and past your ear. Exhale to draw the bottom half of the circle. We'll go one more time. Inhale. Exhale to close your arms. Once more, the next time you inhale, you'll open your arms like a book, rolling back onto your back, and let your feet release down towards the mat. So we'll take the soles of our feet down. Feet are wide. They're about the width of your mat. When you exhale now, drop your knees over to the right, and we'll just kind of hang out here. So sometimes I'll cue to pick up your right foot and put it on the outer side of your left knee. For right now, let's just let gravity do the work. You can let your legs drop down to the right. You can feel your left hip lifting up. Maybe you can drop your front ribs and roll them around to the left a little bit, deepening that twist. So we're working with some internal rotation in your left hip. You may also feel this in the left side of your waist. It can feel really good here to turn your head to the left. And finally, you'll inhale to bring your knees back up to the center. Exhale, take both knees over to the left now. Head might turn to the right. We'll let gravity take our legs. Right hip is lifting. We're working internal rotation in the right thigh. You're getting some stretch in the front of your right hip, maybe even in the right side of your waist. And you can allow your ribs to move in the opposite direction. As your knees are moving to the left, your ribs are rotating to the right. And with your next inhalation, you can point your knees back up towards the ceiling. Let's take a full inhalation and complete exhalation here. And then start to rock your knees side to side. So you can rock over to one side on the exhalation. Inhale through center, rock to the other side on the exhalation. A little bit of a massage now for your upper outer hip. And once you've rocked an equal number of times in each direction here, you'll work your way up to prop on your elbows. So you can tuck your elbows underneath your shoulders, changing the angle of your spine a little bit here. And you'll also change where you feel the massage in your glutes and your hips. So we'll keep rocking. And Now maybe we're a little bit lower in the glutes, kind of getting into gluteus medius, outer hip. And once you've rocked an equal number of times to each side here, you can sit all the way up and keep rocking. Nice. All right, so I've got a little core and balance exercise for you here. See how it goes. As long as your knees are feeling all right. The next time your knees drop over to the right, see if you can stand up on your knees and find a little mini back bend here. Beautiful. You'll sit back down without using your hands or rock your knees over to the left. Ground through your shins. Pick yourself up. Find a little back bend here. Then you're going to exhale and sit. Rock over. Inhale and lift. Exhale and sit. Rock over. Inhale and lift. We'll go one more time to each side. I like this one because I can do it with my broken arm. Inhale and lift. Rock back down onto the floor. Over to the other side, inhale and lift. Exhale, go sit all the way back down. You can cross your ankles now. Roll forward to hands and knees. In your hands and knees position now, you might like to reach your arms out straight. Currently, I prefer to put my elbows on the floor for this one. You have a choice. Anahatasana, heart chakra pose. You've got your hips over your knees. You're melting your heart towards the floor. Maybe chin or forehead releasing to the mat. Sometimes this one gets called puppy pose too, because it looks like a little mini downward facing dog. I know it as Anahatasana, Anahata being the name of the heart chakra, because this is the pose that really opens up the space around your heart. It's maybe a similar sensation to when we were laying over our supported fish in terms of the expansion across your chest, maybe the sensation of posterior tipping in the shoulder blades, or the tips of your shoulder blades moving into your back. There might even be a sense of releasing in triceps and back of shoulder and latissimus dorsi, those big muscles that form the sides of your body, coming from low back up to your upper arms. We'll take a couple more breaths here, maybe now exploring the sensation of breath moving in your back ribs. Beautiful. Eventually, we'll walk our way back to hands and knees. And you can press back to child's pose with arms extended. So sitting back onto your heels, spine rounding now. Maybe your forehead will come down to the mat. Your arms are active. The elbows are lifted, triceps are working a little bit. From here, with your next exhalation, ground into your shins, round your spine, and you'll exhale up to cat back. As you inhale, soften your elbows, let your heart lead, roll through to a gentle cobra pose. You can exhale, ground into your hands, ground into your shins, round through your cat back. And inhale to your extended child's pose, arms active. Exhale through cat back. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, back to cat. Inhale, extended child's pose. One more time, exhale through the cat back. Inhale, cobra. Exhale through cat back. Inhale, extended child's pose. In your next exhalation, we'll walk your hands over to the right. Reach back to your left hip. Get all sorts of extension in your left side. Now, as we're continuing to explore the sensation of breath in our ribs, the movement of rib cage as you breathe, the spreading of your ribs with inhalation, the drawing in with exhalation. Really feel that sensation in your left side ribs. You can feel them opening like the ribs of a fan with each inhalation. With your next inhalation, you can walk your hands back to the center. And with your next exhalation, walk your hands over to the left. And now explore the sensation of breathing in your right side. The ribs drawing away from each other, expanding as you inhale, maybe engaging towards each other as you exhale, opening up space like you're opening up a fan in your side body. With your next inhalation, you can walk back to the center. We'll rock up to hands and knees. Now settle into a neutral spine here. Often when we come to our hands and knees, one of two things happens. We may end up overarching and sagging towards the floor. And if this is the case, you're going to hug your navel in and lengthen your crown and tail away from each other. The other thing that happens is sometimes we overcompensate and we end up tucking our tails. So if you're tucking your tail, see if you can lift your sitting bones, lift your tail up. And then you'll flex your feet, tuck your toes, lift your knees, press back to down dog with knees bent. Maybe you can even keep your shins parallel to the floor. Eventually you'll extend your legs and then maybe bend one knee and bend the other. Maybe shift your hips side to side since we're kind of playing with this lateral movement and this expansion of rib cage. Might feel really interesting to keep your legs straight and shift hips side to side. That looks amazing. Maybe there are other movements that you'd like to explore. So you can explore those other movements. Then eventually kind of hone in on a downward dog that you can hold for a few breaths. And see if you can sense your breastbone and the breath moving behind your breastbone. See if you can lighten up off your breastbone a little bit. Get a little bit buoyant in your breastbone. So by this I mean not pressing your chest back towards your thighs, not taking the weight of your body into your chest, but lightening up, broadening your shoulders, and maybe you can play with that sense of vayu, that samhana vayu drawing into the center of your chest with the in-breath, the vyana vayu circulating that energy and making it expansive through your body. Lovely. From here, you can begin to move your feet forward towards your hands. You might walk, you might step. If you feel ready to float, you could float. Gorgeous. Full forward fold as you exhale. You can have your feet about the width of your hips. Bend your knees a little bit. Inhale, and now see if you can lift from the space between your shoulder blades. So the back of your heart buoys you up as you float up. And we'll bring our hands behind us. You can interlace your fingers here, maybe. Not sure if I can manage it or not. We'll try rolling your shoulders back, and you'll take your fists maybe 6 inches, maybe a little less off your sacrum. So pressing your little fingers back a little bit, but not too far. And then you'll reach your hands down and your heart up. We're really trying to focus just on the upper back and chest here. I'm trying to get a little bit into the muscles below your collarbones, in the front of your shoulder, pectoralis minor, the smaller muscles of your chest. And we can create that with this posterior tipping of the shoulder blade, lifting of the upper breastbone. Lovely. You can inhale and release that. We'll exhale, release our arms down by our sides. Next inhalation, take it to Utkatasana, chair pose. So we'll flex ankles, bend knees, take our hips back. Flex your ankles, bend your knees, take your hips back, hug your belly in, hug your ribs in, base of your skull draws back. Let's reach our arms up. And then here, try interlacing your fingers around the back of your head. So we'll interlace fingers around the back of the head. You can even kind of support the base of your skull. You might start to lift slightly with your arms, lengthening your neck. Reach up with your elbows. And now again, maybe you can feel that sense that your ribs will open like the ribs of a fan. Oh, amazing. Almost like you're hanging your spine from the base of your skull as you lift with your hands. And then we have this beautiful sensation of opening and breath in the rib cage. We'll try one more inhalation here. As you exhale, you can release your hands and fold forward to Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Let's inhale and lift halfway up. When you exhale, step back to your plank pose and lower all the way to your belly. So we'll come all the way down to our bellies. We'll bring hands right underneath shoulders. Lift your shoulders up and away from the floor. Lift the base of your skull up and away from the floor. And maybe now lift your hands. You can try one more inhalation here. Exhale and lower and bring your hands out to the side now. Fingertips on the floor. Elbows can start to point up towards the ceiling. And your hands are more or less in line with your shoulders. Ground into the tops of your feet again. Lift the fronts of your shoulders. Lift the base of your skull. Take it up into cobra with arms wide. Nice. One more breath. Exhale and lower. Bring your hands next to your ribs now. You'll inhale, draw your shoulders back, lift up, take a little weight into your hands, and come up into a high cobra, holding here. See if you can draw your shoulders back, draw your heart forward, draw the base of your skull back. Try to let this pose come from your arms and your heart, not leading with your chin. And as we hold here now, notice where you feel the most extension in your back. Right now I'm feeling quite a lot in my lumbar spine. So think about drawing that curve up into your mid-back, between your shoulder blades to the crown of your head. Smooth the curve of your spine out, all the way from your tail to your crown. You can exhale and lower. And we'll let our arms go out by our sides. Turn your head to one side and take a few breaths of rest here. And you'll turn your head to the other side and take a few breaths of rest here. You can turn your face back to the center, bring your hands underneath your shoulders or just beside your ribs. Inhale your way to hands and knees. Once more, check in with the alignment of your spine. Sitting bones lifting, belly lifting, crown reaching away from tail. You can tuck your toes, lift your knees, and you'll find downward facing dog. This time in your downward facing dog, bend your knees a little bit. And then lift really high onto the tips of your toes. Get your heels way up. All right, froggy here. Tip your sitting bones up a little bit more. Lift your sitting bones. Try to do it without dropping your front ribs. So front ribs stay contained, shoulders stay broad, we stay light in the breastbone, but sitting bones tilt up a little bit more. Yes, that's exactly it. Beautiful. One more breath here, and now let your heels drop down. But keep your sitting bones just as high as they are right now. So it's like your legs are getting longer. Yeah. From here, you'll inhale and pick up your right foot. You can lift it straight up and back at first. Stay strong in both arms. Hug your front ribs in and stack your right hip over your left. Bend your knee. You can use your glutes and your hamstrings here to kind of pull your thigh back, pull your heel towards your hip. And as you exhale, square your hips, hug your knee into your chest, and you'll place your right foot between your hands. Pivot your left heel to the floor. We'll take the left heel down, with the right foot planted. See if you can bring your feet to either side of the midline of your mat. We're moving into first warrior. Hug your navel in, anchor your left heel, slide your right thigh forward. We'll reach up, and then turn your palms forward. Elbows will bend. You've got your elbows in line with your shoulders, fingertips over your elbows. Now we're moving back into external rotation in the shoulders and posterior tipping in the shoulder blades. Tips of your shoulder blades into your back. Maybe elbows swing a little forward, maybe hands swing a little back. And now you can lean back into the support behind you, like the back of your heart is supporting your back bend. You can take one more inhalation here. You might even extend your arms now. The next in-breath will bring your torso upright. Your next out-breath reaches your hands for the floor and you'll step back to your plank. Lower this time to your favorite version of chaturanga. So maybe you're hovering your whole body parallel to the floor. Maybe you're coming to knees, chest, and chin. Maybe you're hovering with knees down and shoulders lifted. Your next inhalation is upward facing dog. So you're going to roll your shoulders back, take the base of your skull back, pull with your arms, pulling with your hands to draw your heart forward. And again, creating that smooth curve from tail to crown. When you exhale, you can lower and press back to downward facing dog. Again, in your downward facing dog, lift high into the balls of your feet, bend your knees a little so you can really tip your sitting bones up. And then notice if you're pressing back against your heart, see if you can lighten up off your breastbone, getting length from fingers to hips, and then bring your heels down, but try to keep your hips just as high as they are. Nice. From here, you'll inhale and lift your left foot. Lift it straight up and back. And then stack your hips and bend your knee using the back of your leg. Activate your hamstrings, activate your glutes. You can kind of pull your heel and thigh back. Lovely. As you exhale, square your hips. Hug your left knee into your chest. You'll step your foot between your hands. Let your right heel touch down. When you inhale, we'll find first warrior. We're anchoring your right heel. You're sliding your left thigh forward. It can be helpful to put your feet on either side of the middle of your mat. Your navel is hugging in to anchor your right heel. We'll bend elbows. Find that external rotation, posterior tipping of the shoulder blades, and then lift up and over the back of your heart as you back bend. Next inhalation, we'll extend your arms. Next inhalation takes your torso upright. As you exhale, you'll reach for the mat. Step back through your vinyasa, your favorite chaturanga, your back bend, cobra or upward dog. Exhale back to downward facing dog. Let's take 2 more breaths in downward dog. Still aware of the spaciousness behind your breastbone. Maybe still breathing with that sense of breathing into that space, inhaling there, circulating it through your body with the exhalation. Samanavayu, Vinyasa. The energy drawing in, consolidating, the energy distributing and circulating through your body. Eventually, you'll bend your knees and look forward. You'll move your feet to your hands, finding your half forward fold. Full forward fold at the exhalation. Inhale, bend your knees, take your arms up, back to Uttanasana. Once more, you can cup the base of your skull, elbows bend. Get that sense of extension. Lengthen your neck, maybe even press your head back. Lift your elbows, angle your spine from the base of your skull, and we start to find a little articulation in the rib cage. As you inhale, you can release, extend your arms long. Exhale and fold, Uttanasana. Standing forward fold, you'll inhale, lift halfway up. Plant your hands, step or float back through your vinyasa, back to chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. Find your down dog. Inhale to lift your right foot. And you guys know how much I love Wild Thing. If you love Wild Thing too, you can absolutely flip this pose over. Yeah. I figure every class should have an opportunity for this transition. You can exhale, flip it back, take a breath. Next exhalation, right foot comes forward between your hands. You'll pivot and plant your left heel to the floor and make your way back to warrior one. So working here to pull your navel back towards your spine, anchor your left heel, active in the left leg, kind of squeeze your inner thighs towards each other to square your hips. And now with an exhalation, you'll twist to the right. Reach your left hand forward, reach your right hand back. You can inhale to return to first warrior. Exhale to your twist. Inhale to return to first warrior. Exhale to your twist. You could hold the twist here. If you'd like to deepen this back bend, you can slide your right hand down your left leg and reach your left hand up. It might even feel good here to bend your elbow, support your skull, and create that almost sense of traction. Again, dangling your spine from the base of your skull. You can inhale, release that, and exhale through your favorite vinyasa. Reaching your hands for the floor, you can step back to your version of chaturanga. Your back bend, upward dog or cobra. Exhaling to downward dog, and this is a great place to pause. Breathe. Again, inhales, bring energy in. Exhales, circulate it and distribute it through your body. Next inhalation will lift your left foot straight up and back. You can stack your hips and bend your knee. Feel free to flip this over into Wild Thing if you'd like to add that back bend. And if you're in the Wild Thing, you'll flip it back over. Take one inhalation. Next exhalation, you'll bring your left foot forward between your hands. Your right heel pivots and plants to the mat. Inhale, Virabhadrasana 1, anchoring in your right heel, left thigh slides forward, inner thighs hug towards the midline. Really pulling the belly in. That will help you to anchor your right heel. Now with your exhalation, arms part, you'll twist left. Left hand reaches back, right hand reaches forward. You can inhale to unwind that twist. Exhale, rotate left. Inhale, unwind the twist. Exhale, rotate left. Perhaps you hold here. If you'd like to deepen the back bend, left hand slides down right leg, right arm reaches up and back. You can inhale, release that pose. Exhale, reach for the floor and flow through your vinyasa back to your version of chaturanga and your upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, back to downward facing dog. You can take one more big inhalation here. One more complete exhalation here. Inhale, come forward to plank pose. And exhale, count to 5 as you lower yourself down to the floor. Yeah, such control. That was amazing. All right, resting on our bellies. You can start by propping yourself up on your right elbow. Alternatively, you can extend your right arm and just rest your head on your right upper arm. We'll bend left knee. You can reach back, grab your ankle, and try to draw your left heel towards your left hip. As you do this, reach your knee back, reach your tailbone back, and engage your belly a little bit. So we're almost drawing the top of the pelvis towards lower ribs as you continue to lengthen in the front of your left hip. And you can release your left foot, switch sides, either propping yourself up on your left elbow, or alternatively, you can leave your arm extended and just rest the left side of your head onto your left upper arm. You'll bend your right knee, reach back with the right hand, get a hold of your ankle and start to draw that heel in towards your right hip. Tailbone is lengthening to the foot of your mat. Right knee is lengthening towards the foot of your mat. And you're engaging your belly a little bit. So lower front ribs and top rim of pelvis are moving towards each other. You can release that side. If you have your prop handy, grab it. This time, we'll place the prop block where I happen to have my meditation cushion. You'll place it under your left thigh. Make sure it's below the crease of your hip because we want to create extension in left hip. So you want to prop your leg up, hips, pelvis relatively level, but be able to see extension in your left hip. So your left leg is lifted. And this may already be enough stretch, particularly if you're paying attention to the breath in your lower back. You can increase this by bending your left knee. You can increase this by, again, grabbing your left ankle and drawing your heel towards your hip. Release your left foot. We'll remove the prop and move it over to the right side. Same pose, other side. This time your prop will go underneath your right thigh, below your hip crease, so you can prop that thigh up. We want extension in the right hip, so your right leg is elevated. You can bend your knee, reach back, maybe grab your ankle, maybe start to draw that heel in towards your hip. If you start to pay attention to your breath and your lower back ribs, you may be able to accentuate this stretch a little bit. expanding into your back ribs to lengthen the top end of your hip flexors. Finally, you can release this side. We'll rest back onto our bellies. And somewhere in your next few breaths, it might feel good to bend your knees, point your feet to the ceiling, and then rock your shins side to side as a little bit of relief for your low back. Eventually, you'll bring your hands under your shoulders, help yourself up to hands and knees, and then press back to your active child's pose for 3 breaths. So we're creating a beautiful counter stretch now in the lumbar spine. And when you inhale, you're going to rock forward to hands and knees. When you exhale, you'll flex your feet, tuck your toes, and pick yourself back up to downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, you'll bend your knees, look forward, and step or float your feet to your hands. Find a half forward fold. Find a full forward fold. Inhale, knees bend, reach up, Utkatasana. Once more, bend your elbows, support the base of your skull, create length in your back. You can enjoy that sensation of your ribs fanning open for one more in-breath. And exhale, ground your feet, release your arms, and find your mountain pose. Let's take a full inhalation here. Complete exhalation here. And you'll turn to face the long edge of your mat now and take your feet wide. Prasarita Padottanasana, wide-footed standing forward folds. So I like about a leg length between my feet. If your hamstrings are a little tighter, you might take your feet wider. If your hamstrings are a little more open, you could take your feet narrower. Moving through Prasarita B and Prasarita C. So both of these are really lovely shoulder openers, even in a forward fold. We'll take our heels just a little wider than our toes, so you've got internal rotation in your thighs. You can take your hands to your hips and then draw your elbows back. Draw your elbows back, and I just noticed myself do that with my rib cage. So if that happened to you, see if you can hug your ribs in and take your shoulders back by activating between your shoulder blades. You can take the base of your skull back, maybe turn your gaze to the ceiling. When you exhale, hinge forward, keep drawing your elbows back. So you can try to put your elbows to the ceiling as you hinge forward into the forward fold. And you can use a little core strength here to draw your crown closer and closer to the mat. You're continuing to use the muscles of your upper back, shoulder blades drawing together, elbows drawing back, chest broadening for 2 more breaths. To come out of this variation of the pose, it's a big inhalation. Reach with your elbows, come up on one big strong breath. You can inhale your arms out to the side. When you exhale, take your hands behind you, Prasarita C now. So fingers will interlace. Maybe you even press your palms together. Again, we inhale, reach heart up, reach shoulders back. Yes. Exhale, hinging around the tops of your femurs. Now your fists can lift off your sacrum. One more breath in Prasarita C. Inhale, reach up through your fists. Let your fists lift you to standing. You can extend your arms. Exhale, release them. Step your feet back together and come back to standing mountain pose at the top of your mat. Inhale, Utkatasana, bend your knees, reach up. Exhale, Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Inhale, you'll lift halfway up, keeping your neck long. Exhale, last vinyasa, stepping or floating back to chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. Inhale, back forward to plank pose, and again, count to 5 as you slowly, in control, lower to your belly. All right, you can extend your right arm straight out in front of you. Start to roll a little to your right side. Head will rest on your right upper arm. You'll lift your left leg, half bow, Ardha Dhanurasana. Bend your left knee, reach back, grab your left ankle, and then roll your left shoulder back, kick your left foot into your hand. You can work here, hanging onto the outside of your ankle. If you'd like a little more rotation in your shoulder, you can turn your palm up, grab your inner ankle, and press back that way. When you inhale, you'll release your foot. Exhale, roll over to the other side. Left arm extends. You can support your head on your left upper arm. Rolling onto your left side, right knee bends. Reach back, grab your ankle, kick your foot into your hand, draw your thigh back. Maybe grab the inside if that's reasonable. You can inhale, release your foot. Exhale, roll back to your belly. Let's rest chin or forehead on the mat, your choice. Turn your palms down, ground into the tops of your feet. So from here, we'll inhale, lift fronts of our shoulders, lift base of your skull, and let your chin be a little bit attracted to the hollow at the top of your breastbone. So you're not reaching with your chin, but the back of your skull is lifting. We'll pause here. Next inhalation, maybe you can lift from the upper inner thighs and take your feet off the floor. Pause here. Next inhalation, maybe you lift your hands too. Next exhalation, you can consider bending your knees, grabbing your ankles. Next inhalation, Dhanurasana, draw the bow. Press your feet into your hands, lift joined hands and feet to the ceiling. Gorgeous. You might even find yourself rocking here. This is a really nice strengthener for your breathing muscles. You're basically weightlifting with your diaphragm as you breathe here and rock back and forth. Deep breaths. One more big inhalation. Beautiful. Exhale and lower and rest. Find a position that feels restful to you. You could turn your head to one side. You could make a pillow for your head with your arms. Find something that feels really comfortable. And take 3 slow breaths. If your head is turned, turn your face the other way and take 3 more slow breaths. And finally, you can bring your face back to the center, bring your hands under your shoulders. Inhale to hands and knees, and exhale nice and slow back to a child's pose. I always like to make a transition where we're working with big back bends through a neutral spine for a few breaths, and then gently into a counter pose. All right, from your child's pose, you can walk back to sit on your heels and then stand up on your knees. And this is kind of your choice, but I quite like to use support coming into this next pose, working into some variations of Camel Pose. And it can be really nice to use your prop. So I don't have my block with me, but this will work. If you've got your block, you can place your block between your knees and thighs, and you'll squeeze it. So this enforces an activation of the inner thighs. which enforces an activation of your core, and it supports your back bend beautifully. We'll squeeze this support, whether it's a cushion or a block. And let's think about now taking the fronts of the shoulders back, taking the base of the skull back. So we're getting some extension and lift in the upper back. And you're still strong here, but now we start to maybe open up a little space between the ribs, in the belly, extending. Eventually, you can take your arms out to the side, external rotation, and lean back. You've got that support behind your heart, the support of your breath in the back of your heart. So you can lift up and back into the back bend. Keep squeezing your prop. Maybe you're looking at the ceiling. If you feel like you have enough length in the back of your neck to look back behind you, do. Just don't drop your head. And we've again got the smooth curve from tailbone all the way up to crown. Come out of this pose, squeeze your prop even more. Let the front of your body zip up. You can let your chin release towards your chest, remove your prop. Sit back on your heels. You can drop your chin down towards your chest with an exhalation. Then inhale, roll your right ear towards your right shoulder. Exhale, you can roll your chin back down across your chest and inhale, left ear to left shoulder. We'll just do this a couple times. Exhaling, chin down across your chest. Inhaling, ear to shoulder. Exhale, chin down across your chest. Inhale, ear to shoulder. One more time in each direction. And finally, you'll come back to your starting position. Lift your head and just let it kind of wobble around on the top of your neck. Perfectly balanced, effortless. Letting go of any tension in your neck and jaw. From here, you can shift your hips to one side. Take your feet out in front of you. Have your prop handy. We'll roll back down onto our backs. And again, move into supported bridge pose. So you can root down through your feet, lift your hips, slide your prop under your sacrum. And this time, I encourage you to walk your legs out long. You can even let your toes flop out to the side. Let go of all of the work in your low back and in your hips. Supported back bend for 5 breaths. And you'll walk your feet back in. Ground down into your feet, just enough to lift your hips. Float yourself back down onto the floor. You can walk your feet wide, let your knees drop over to the right. This time, maybe it will feel good to pick up your right foot and put the outer edge of your right foot on the outside of your left knee. You can use that little extra bit of leverage to deepen the rotation in your left hip and to accentuate the twist. Your ribs are continuing to rotate to the left as your knees are dropping right. You can turn your head to the left too. If you've got your right ankle crossed over your left knee, uncross. Inhale to point your knees back up to the ceiling, and as you exhale, let your knees drop over to the left. Gaze will turn to the right. And this time, consider picking up your left foot and placing the outer edge of your left foot on the outside of your right knee. Pay attention to how your right knee feels here. Sometimes the weight of the foot is a little too much and it feels unpleasant or unsafe in your right knee. So if that's your experience, you'll put your left foot back down on the floor. But if it's feeling good to use this little bit of extra leverage, stay here, letting your right knee drop down, right hip lift up, ribs are rotating to the right. Finally, you'll remove your left foot from the outside of your right knee. Inhale your way back to the center. Let's exhale, hug knees into our chest. One more time, rock them in and out, Apanasana. Maybe draw some circles if that would feel good to you. And finally, float your feet back down to the floor. You're going to reach up with your hands, pick up your head, draw your chin towards your chest as you lift, lengthening the back of your neck, lengthening the space between your shoulder blades. You can set your head back down. Now press into your feet and lift your hips. And then press into your feet as if you could slide towards the head of your mat. You've got your shoulder blades stuck to your mat. You'll press as if you could slide towards the head of your mat, and that will draw your shoulder blades down your back. Eventually, you'll set your hips down. Maybe even extend your legs out long. Arms can extend out by your sides at about a 45-degree angle. And we'll settle into a place of rest. Releasing here into the support of the earth beneath you. And now, with an effortless breath, perhaps you can still notice those forms of vitality. Samana Vayu, bringing vitality and energy in. Vyana Vayu, circulating it throughout your body. And now, disturbing your relaxation as little as possible, once more expand your breath. Drawing in full, deep inhalations into your chest and your ribs and your belly. Releasing completely with your exhalations. And with this drawing in and circulation of energy, starting to feel that breath and energy radiate to the tips of your fingers and the tips of your toes. And bringing some movement back to your fingers and toes. Bringing some movement back to your hands and feet and your arms and legs and gradually your whole body. Let your whole body come back to life, finding the movements that just feel really good as you wake yourself up. And eventually those movements will carry you over to one side. And finally, you can use the strength of your arms and help yourself up, coming up to a comfortable seat. Once more, noticing the expansion and movement of your breath. Noticing how your ribs move. Noticing how your belly moves. Noticing the extension and then the grounding of your spine. And finally, you can turn your palms out to the side. Inhale, reach your arms up and overhead. Exhale, bring your hands down the midline of your body to your heart. We'll find Anjali Mudra. And we'll close with the sound of Om. So if you'd like to join me, We'll inhale and begin. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Have a marvelous weekend. Namaste. Nice work.